Nicky Dicky here, and just giving you my weekly update on the stocks that I'm looking at for trends. Again, these are not stocks I'm suggesting that we buy or sell or trade. I'm not giving buy and sell options or any suggestions on it. This is just the stocks that I keep an eye on for the next following week that I think will give me some interesting ideas on trends that are going on so I know how to invest my clients' portfolios. Monday, April 3rd, 2023, there is nothing on Monday I'm interested in. Again, I'm not suggesting there aren't any companies out there. There's just nothing that I'm keeping an eye on. Tuesday, the same thing. There's really nothing I'm focused on at this point. Wednesday, it's Conagra Foods, and I always try to keep an idea on Conagra because it gives me a general idea if consumers are going into buying generics or if they're continuing to purchase name brand items. So that's always a good one. There's a few other small companies, food companies on that day you could keep an eye on. On the 6th, you've got Stars, WD-40, and Levi Strauss. Now, again, is there any correlation between these three? Not really. But what I find interesting about it with Stars is, again, it gives us a pretty good idea what's going on as far as that section of the business. But WD-40 has just been crushed. It's had a really difficult time for the last couple of years. So it's going to be interesting to see if the company can make any moves or changes that are going to help. I know they've been putting some plans together, so it'll be interesting to see how they're coming on that side of it and how the market reacts to it. And Levi's had a really good quarter last quarter, so it's interesting to see if they'll keep that going. Friday, there is nothing. Again, no stocks I'm looking at, but you do have a jobs report coming out, so that's going to be interesting. And because there's not a ton coming out, you've got an ISM report this week, but really nothing major coming out. You're going to probably have a few Fed board people coming out, like a Bullard or whatever, giving their opinions on what's going on in the marketplace. So keep an eye on that. But what I think is really going to be interesting this particular week is going to be how the market reacts to not having data and how it's going to read into what they think the Fed is going to do going forward and how the market's going to react. Because there's a lot of little bitty things that are going to be playing out in the scheme of things. As an example, how big of an issue is it going to be on the banking situation? Is it going to have a major impact? There's a thought that it could, and it may or may not play out. We haven't seen the market really react to it, even though you hear on the news and some other things about the fact that the banking situation could be affecting businesses. My personal opinion is if there is a banking problem that's going to be a bigger effect on the overall market, it's not going to show up for several months. At least that's my opinion. And by that point, the market might be in a completely different world. To me, it shouldn't have a major overall effect on the markets as a whole. Not to say that it won't, but again, it shouldn't. So it might affect some of the individual banks, which we may still continue to hear about and see. But it'll be interesting to see what else comes out this week with so little data coming out to see how the markets are going to respond. And again, I've got on here, and I'm going to keep beating this horse until it's gone. I don't know how you want to look at it, but basically, this is your gas prices. And as I told you, this is the big numbers here, 4.3 to 3.5. So you got an 18% decrease in gasoline. The question is, what does that do? Because this was the big jump. We had a huge jump from 7.9 to 8.5. So when we come down here for this particular month, we went 6.4 to 6. How low does this go? It's very possible that this could be at least a half, if not more, maybe a 0.6, 0.7 decrease. And since we've got the same scenario ratcheting up here, not quite as much. And if we have gas prices go up, that's going to shrink that a little bit. So that might put a little bit of a damper on April. But again, we've got a heck of a deal going on here between now and June. So again, there might be a small hiccup here or there, but unless gasoline prices go through the roof between now and June, it should be a major tailwind. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes going forward and how the market looks at whether or not it's going to be a big deal. So this week is just a lull, and hopefully we won't go backwards. Hopefully, I'd love it to go up. But the bigger issue here is, do we not go backwards before we get to CPI? And how big of a CPI print is it next week? Or how solid is it, and how does the market respond to it? So again, get with your financial advisor, make sure your portfolio is where you want it to be, and for your long-term objectives so that you can retire when you want to retire and how you want to retire. Dicky out.